Hi, this is Ted Kelly with another Ted's Hospitality Minute. Hey, today we've got an awesome guest on, and he happens to be a good friend. His name is Blake Snow. He is the National Strategic Account Manager for Hospitality for Ferguson Enterprises. He's going to come on, chat a little bit about what's going on over at Ferguson, probably enlighten us to all the other things that Ferguson does that we had no clue about, and also talk about maybe some of the supply chain issues that we've had during COVID. Hey, Blake, how are you?
I'm wonderful, Ted. Great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, well, thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time. And I obviously always love chatting with you. But before we talk about Ferguson and all the great things you guys are doing, tell me or tell us and viewers a little bit about your trek in hospitality. How did you end up, A, in the hotel hospitality world, and then B, how did you end up at Ferguson?
Sure. No, I appreciate the opportunity. So I've spent the last 21 years of my career in the plumbing industry, and that varied from a couple different manufacturers. And specifically, the last 15 years of my career have been focused 100% on hospitality. And so I spent 10 years, just about 10 years with Kohler initially, transferred within Kohler. Kohler purchased an FF&E furniture manufacturer back in the day, and I went to learn the FF&E business down in North Carolina, and that was really my first kind of entry into hospitality. And to learn the world of furniture and FF&E was mind-blowing. I was very happy to move back into plumbing, and I went to Speakman as their director of sales and marketing for about 3 to 4 years, and then came to Ferguson about 8 years ago, and the rest has been history. As most people say about hospitality, you either love it or you hate it, and I clearly love it. I love the pace of business. I love the people, the relationships, and frankly, there's nowhere else I'd rather be than in hospitality.
Wow, that is awesome. And that's a testimony to hospitality, because I think you're spot on with you either love it or you hate it and you get out, right? But
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about what's going on at Ferguson. When I think of Ferguson, I think about faucets and plumbing fixtures and things of that nature, but I think you guys have some other things going on over there, right?
Outside of plumbing, we do have a large breadth of other offerings. And as we look at all the different businesses within Ferguson, in looking at the construction process, waterworks is really our initial division. It's the part that starts before the building is even constructed. So our waterworks team across the country have the ability to work with water and sewer authorities and provide underground pipe as well as stormwater retention solutions and engineering solutions. So that just sets the groundwork for a project. The next phase gets into the fire and fabrication. So we provide fire protection products and fire sprinkler products within hotels, as well as the fabrication in our own facilities. Moving along to the commercial side, obviously we can provide the plumbing and we can help with specifications. We also understand brand standards as well. So if there are looking for options to value engineer a specification, we can make recommendations that are still going to be brand approved because of our knowledge of the brand standards. Outside of plumbing, we take it to the appliance side. So on the appliances, we're able to provide delivery and install. On a new build project, we can do an uninstall and removal and haul away of old products for an existing property we're doing a renovation for. On our HVAC side, we can provide PTACs and VTACs for the room. Again, and we can bundle it all together and having deliveries to the job site. We provide opening OS&E, so we can actually provide everything from light bulbs and batteries to janitor carts, mop buckets, and brooms. And then lastly, once that property is open, we have an entire MRO division of our team that works with all the GPOs, so Avendra, Hilton Supply Management, Food Buy, that once that property is open, we can service that property from a day-to-day basis as well.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot. That's a lot way beyond what I thought about when I think of Ferguson. I'm thinking about the projects that you bailed us out on when we couldn't get plumbing fixtures from the good old RLJ days, with projects that were like, oh man, can Blake help it? So
and we can still do that too.
Well, that's definitely good to know. but that is quite a wide range of services that you guys have there behind the scenes. So we gotta put the word out about all the other good things that you guys are doing over there. Um, Talk to me a little bit about it, and you might have touched on it somewhere in there. How do you guys stay in front of the latest and greatest, say for the water conservation side of things and the sustainability stuff that the hotel world, the brands are moving to? How do you have a research side, design side that does that, or how does that come into play with your guys?
So yes and no. I think on that side of things, we really rely heavily on our vendors. We have fantastic vendor partners. On the water conservation side, looking at Kohler, Moen, and Delta and Lixil, they're great partners of ours that have tremendous expertise in both the product, the knowledge of where the industry is going, and then helping us with the education on making sure that it's a product that's still going to perform. And
Yeah,
water conservation is one of those unique challenges. It's a very easy discussion on kind of the toilet side. It makes sense that as long as that toilet is able to perform at lower levels, it makes a pretty simple decision. Yes, we can bring down from a 1.6 to a 1.28 and then start to look at options. It does get a little more challenging on the showering side, where so understanding that the showering experience is one of the top 3 guest touch points at a hotel experience. And there's a big fear of, well, if I go too low, if I go from a 2.5 down to a 1.5, is my guest going to get the right experience, or are they going to complain that my hotel didn't provide a great showering experience? So they're not going to come back. They list a bad posting on Yelp or the review site.
yeah,
And all of a sudden I tried to save a few dollars on the shower and it created a bad experience for a guest. So
yeah.
we want to be very cognizant of that. And frankly, with shower head replacements, anytime we're going to do a shower head replacement at a property, I always request to send a sample to the customer, let them try it out. In many instances, we'll send 3 samples at no charge to the property, let them get guest feedback for 30 days. And if they like the feedback, we can show them what the savings would be. It's an easy ROI, but again, it still needs to revolve around the guest experience.
Oh, that's nice. So you get to kind of try it before you buy it, so to speak. That's interesting. Good to do. So talk a little bit about COVID. I know everybody is kind of coming back now. Hopefully things are moving in the right direction for the hospitality world. And I know a lot of folks have experienced some huge supply chain issues, and folks are trying to figure out what's the right recipe to, be able to really manage kind of being in a comfort zone, so to speak, with trying to get a renovation done or something like that. What are you seeing with regard to owners trying to minimize that supply chain impact and how they manage their renovation and construction, plans or forecasts for the upcoming year?
So that's a great question and kind of a loaded question. I appreciate it. I will say first and foremost, the plumbing industry as a whole has really done, I would say, better than most other categories in the hospitality world. We were already kind of, I would say, gifted a better supply chain or lead time perspective, understanding that the FF&E is, looking at 12 to 16 weeks out in a normal cycle anyway. And so plumbing doesn't typically take that long unless you're looking at unique finishes. And so we've had a bit of a gap in there already, as long as we're having that communication sooner than later. And I think one of the things that COVID forced us to do was to become closer with our customers, especially at the project management level. And rather than say, hey, we have a lead time right now of this faucet of 4 weeks, and then have the customer go ahead and wait till 4 weeks before they need it and they place the order, and now all of a sudden that 4 weeks is 8 weeks. We've had more of the collaboration to say, the best way to manage upfront on the supply chain piece is go ahead and place the order with us now, even if you need it in 12 weeks, because the lead time on your FF&E, and we can build that into the forecast and the supply chain for our manufacturers and vendors. And that's a very different conversation. If I tell a vendor, I need product, today's August 17th, I need product December 1st, then if it takes them 2 weeks to make it or 6 weeks to make it, that doesn't matter to me. I just need it delivered on December 1st. And so by having those conversations earlier, that has enabled us to be more involved in the project and therefore more successful in delivering the product, what they need, when they need it, and having it delivered on time. I think, one of the biggest features of biggest value add that Ferguson brings to the table truly is our supply chain. Our supply chain behind the scenes is world-class, and we do so based off of having distribution centers across the country, and they're strategically placed so we can deliver quickly everywhere. We have 1,800 branches across the country, so they're always getting product overnight delivered to our next facility or to the next job site. And we have running at any given time a little over $1 billion of inventory in stock. Wow. That being said, what we realized in COVID was the solution wasn't we just raise our inventory levels. It was more about having the right product at the right distribution center for the project and the timeline of everything. We don't mind bringing in product for a project in advance, and we can stage it and kit it so it's ready to go out. But we want to make sure that we're doing so at the right timeline and cadence that the project needs.
Right, right. So as much advanced notice and planning sounds like it's worth its weight in gold.
I could not be said better. And, I really do think that prior to COVID, the timelines were not necessarily always that transparent or communicated. And now I feel like that's a conversation we're having on day one, and it enables us to perform better as a vendor.
Wow. So are you guys seeing a lot of activity in terms of folks doing renovations or new builds, or how's your trend line going? Is it going up? Is it shooting up dramatically? Is it kind of just trending up? How's it look?
The unique thing of kind of where we are today is normally in hospitality, you have a cycle of new build and renovations are down. And I feel like we're kind of in the double boom right now where renovations are up and new builds are up. And yeah. I think that part of it stemmed from so many renovations that needed to happen during the COVID, call it kind of 2-year time period, and that they just ended up getting pushed back. And then still all the new development, all the new brands, the brands they're launching, and all the developers that are buying into those. There's a ton on the pipeline on the new build side as well. So I would say that we are busier than ever right now, both on renovations and new builds. And again, to the point at the beginning of the conversation, as we start to bring in our waterworks division and fire and fab and doing appliances, our goal coming out of COVID was we want to be more important to our current customers. How do we provide more value to our current customers? And the biggest value is take all these other business segments that we have and expose our customers to how they can make one call to me and have access to all these other different businesses.
Yeah, that is wonderful. You have enlightened me on tremendously on all the other things that you guys do. Beyond save us when we're having a fire drill and we need faucets and we like, call Blake, maybe he can help us get it. But man, I tell you what, I really appreciate you giving us some time today and enlightening us on all the great things you guys are doing over there. Tell folks how they can get you, because I'm thinking you ought to be in everybody's Rolodex because you save jobs. So how can folks find you, Blake?
No, thank you. So very simple. My contact information, blake.snow@ferguson.com. We like to keep it very simple. I would say we are very prevalent at every industry event as possible, from BD&Y to Lodging Conference to HD Expo. We also try at each of those events to not only have some one-on-one type meetings, whether it's the lunches or dinners, but also with different events that we help run with our vendor partners during those events. So please reach out to me. I think that kind of our biggest tagline that we've been using prior to COVID, but also I would say it's more prevalent, or it means a bit more now, is that, we want an owner developer, a project to run better, faster, smoother by working with Ferguson. And it doesn't matter which of those segments of business we're involved in. We want to outperform the industry and truly collaborate with the owners and developers out there and be a good partner.
Wow, that sounds great. This has been another Ted's Hospitality Minute. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.